for young teachers and novice researchers. I sincerely thank my former postgraduate student, Dr. Rani Priyadarshini, for her invitation, though I had to decline another invitation from her to visit her college in person sometime last month since I had another commitment. I also appreciate the effort and the prime time of nearly 1.5 hours every day this week taken by the participant, particularly faculty participants during the 6-day FDP. It shows your enthusiasm to constantly update your knowledge because you need to professionally survive in an era where knowledge explodes at every moment of time, and it is knowledge that drives our economy also. Therefore, I really appreciate the organizers and participants of this FDP program. And I requested Dr. Rani to show the slides. My topic today is social linguistic perspectives of plurilingual India. So I call our country as a plurilingual country. Of course, the theme of the FDP is multilingual India or multilingualism. There is a difference between these two terms. So I'm going to focus on 4 sub themes. So I am showing these slides only related to maybe four slides. First, I want to focus on translation and multilingualism. Usually, I take the first day of the FDP or a conference, the first slot, because my topic will always be closely related to the theme of the FDP or conferences. And this time it didn't happen because my friend Manu preferred, they gave the first preference. Anyway, in a way, I'm lucky because I learned from some of the participants yesterday that college authorities or organizers took about a half an hour for doing formalities, and therefore Manu held the floor till 9 o'clock or something like that. Then I learned from some of the participants. So that way, I'm lucky that I got the second slot. But still, my topic is closely related to the theme of the FDP, and therefore, the first slide will be focusing on translation and multilingualism. That's the theme of the FDP. And number 2 is multilingualism and plurilingualism. And third, I'm going to give you an overview of social linguistics, which is very, very basic necessity to anyone who wants to become a translator or to anyone who is practicing a translator. And number 4, I'll be focusing on social linguistic perspectives of multilingual India. And that way, I'm not going to show anything today except these 4 slides that outline my talk. In fact, very rarely do I use slides in my online presentation because conveniently, participants, you switch off your camera and your audio, and therefore I have to look at myself and I have to address the audience in their absence. Friends, FDP is a serious academic exercise. Knowing that reality, I think that participants have joined. I'm really happy, and then I congratulate them on joining this FDP. Very meaningful. It will be very useful to you throughout your professional life. Sometimes after your retirement from service also. And therefore, I request you to lend your ears and mind while you are listening to me. I know that you can also some of your household chores while listening to this online presentation while you are listening to my talk. If possible, if there is a provision and if it is a possibility, you can take down some of the notes if you need. Of course, I hope organizers can also share their recorded speech with the participants at the end of the FDP. So the first thing that I would like to, before I start the first slide on translation and multilingualism, you must know the difference between translation and interpretation. Maybe teachers who are already doing a course on translation, those who are teaching or doing some research, or those who are practicing the translation, perhaps you know that. For others' sake, that just I take 1 minute to explain the difference between translation and interpretation. both are closely related, but then they are forms of language transfer. Both in translation and interpretation, you transfer language from one to another, but they differ. Translation and interpretation differ in their mode of communication and application. Translation involves the conversion of written text from one language to another language. Translation focuses on written text, whereas as far as interpretation is involved, it's also a conversion, but conversion of a spoken language from one to another in real time. For example, if I interpret somebody's speech now, that person is available and I am also translating, audience also quite alive and they are sitting before me, they are listening to the interpreter. So translation involves conversion of written text from one language to another while audience is absent. Whereas interpretation involves conversion of spoken language, not written language, from one to another in real time in order to facilitate communication between people who speak different languages. Okay, so the audience before an interpreter speak different languages, and therefore interpretation is necessary. So it is not a translation. And translation requires strong writing skills and research skills. So basically, a translator is a good communicator. They are good at writing skills, and they are good at research skills. So translator is basically a researcher. Okay, so research in a very broad sense. Before the translators start interpretation, a translator should have done a lot of research on what they are going to accomplish. And how are they going to accomplish? They accomplish only in the form of writing. They should have a strong writing skills. Whereas interpretation demands very good listening. When somebody speaks, no interpreter must listen to the person very carefully and then comprehend. And interpreter is supposed to be good at speaking skills, not written skills. So this is the basic difference between translation and interpretation. In some of the Christian religious groups, when during the conventions, there will be an interpreter, not translator. Though they say that somebody will translate, it's only interpreter, not a translator. So translator deals with written work, written language, and writing. Okay. Now let me go to the first slide, which is making a distinction between translation and multilingualism. I purposely chose this particular sub-theme because it closely aligns with the theme of the FDP. I carefully went through the paragraph which is describing about the FDP, and I think that the organizers have thought very seriously about these two, translation and multilingualism. I think most of the departments of English in at least autonomous colleges, I don't know about affiliated colleges because I never worked in affiliated college, started my career and then I retired from an autonomous institution. I'm also an old student of an autonomous institution, so I don't know about the syllabus. But in autonomous colleges, usually at the postgraduate level, and some colleges like American College, undergraduate level, we have a course on translation with, of course, two different titles. And so I think that the nomenclature we changed when I was head of the department, because simply saying translation is a very broad term, because as far as English department is concerned, we offer a course which can be rightly called literary translation. We are not teaching, we are not learning, we are not practicing anything to do with science and technology or other disciplines. We teach and we deal with the problems that are involved in only translation of literary text from one language to another language. And but I want the participants to know that where do you locate the translation? Organizers have given the clue: multilingualism. Translation is a branch of applied linguistics. It has not anything to do with literature or English studies in the traditional sense. So translation is an area of applied linguistics as much as stylistics or teaching a language as a second language or social linguistics or psycholinguistics. There are many branches of applied linguistics. You call it applied linguistics because you apply your knowledge of language to sister disciplines like teaching or translation or stylistics or psychology or sociology. You are applying the knowledge of a language. So it's called applied linguistics. So translation is a part of applied linguistics, and applied linguistics is a complementary area of what is called theoretical linguistics. So one cannot be an applied linguistic without strong foundation in theoretical linguistics. So if somebody calls himself herself a translator, he is an applied linguist. Okay, this is something scientific. Applied linguistics is something scientific. So precision is required. It's not like a creative writing. Translation is not a creative writing, though creativity is also involved over there. So multilingualism is also part of applied linguistics. So the theme of the conference is, broadly speaking, is something related. Of the FDP is broadly related to applied linguistics because they have chosen two different applied linguistic branches. So translation and multilingualism, or somehow they are interconnected. Otherwise, organizers would not have brought violently, to use T.S. Eliot's term, these two terms. No? So there is no violence involved in bringing these two terms because they represent two different streams of epistemology. They are closely interconnected because both navigate and mediate between languages, cultures, and communication. So whether you talk about translation or multilingualism, it involves languages, they involve cultures, they also involve different modes of communication. When I say that translation, multilingualism are interconnected, I see interconnection in at least 6 different ways. In 6 different ways, these two phenomena are interconnected. Rani, next slide, please. Number one, multilingualism is a precondition for translation. Okay, so if you want to be a translator, if you want to read a translated piece, the understanding is that multilingualism is prerequisite for translation. If you are not multilingual, you are not qualified to be a translator. And as much as those who are reading translated works also know, if they are multilingual, I think that they can understand the text. Otherwise, they have to simply blindly believe what the translator has done. But at the same time, it is not possible for the readers of translation as consumers to have known the what is called source language, SL. If they know the source language, then there is no need for translation at all. So my first point is that the connection between multilingualism and translation is that multilingualism is necessary precondition for a translation. Translation inherently requires a knowledge of at least 2 languages. Okay, so multilingual for the time being, you understand multilingualism. One who practices multilingualism is called a multilingual, and multilingual is one who has at least knowledge of at least 2 languages. So what we call in translation parlance, SL and TL, source language and the target language. And multilingual individuals often have the cognitive flexibility. That's one of the greatness of multilingual individuals. Rather than monolingual individuals, people who know only one language, they do not have that cognitive mental flexibility as much as multilinguals have. And they should also cultural knowledge. Multilinguals, they have cultural cognitive flexibility and cultural knowledge that is necessary to engage in translation effectively. So that way, multilingual linguism and translation are related. For example, a person who is fluent in English, Hindi, and Tamil can translate either a literary or a technical text among these languages, making multilingual competence essential. Okay, so that way I see that it is a precondition for a translation. Conversely, number 2, translation is an expression of multilingualism. If you have done some translation, if you are a translator, it is a manifestation of the fact that you are a multilingual. You are participating in multilingualism. Okay, so translation is a practical manifestation of a multilingualism because it reflects how stories, how ideas, or how knowledge move across different boundaries. Okay, multilingual societies often rely on translation to facilitate communication and understanding between speakers of different languages. India is a multilingual country, huge multilingual country. is a socio-linguistic giant, to quote Ferguson, one of the tall applied social linguists. He says in 1970s that India is a huge socio-linguistic lab. India is the country which other countries cannot comprehend because it is the country where maximum number of languages are used or spoken. So ours is a multilingual society, and ours is a union of multilingual states, because within each state there are number of languages spoken by people. For example, in India, literature is frequently translated between English and Hindi and regional languages. So almost all canonical texts written in regional languages, including Hindi, which is also a regional language, into English, because English seems to be a pan-Indian language in India, besides being a global language. So this is one of the hidden agendas of Indian writers in English, who prefer to write in English rather than their mother tongue. Arundhati can write very well in Malayalam, but then she continues to write. All Indian writers know they can write all these Indian writers who are writing in English can write in their respective Indian languages, which are their mother tongue, but they prefer English because English takes them to different global audiences. These are basic inherent benefits of the English language for various reasons. And number three, both multilingualism and translation involve cultural mediation. Okay, so knowing multiple languages is not just about knowing vocabulary and grammar. So though I say that multilingualism and translation, they're all different parts of applied linguistics, to be a translator, to get involved in translation process, knowing many languages is not knowing a lot of vocabulary or grammar, because it includes understanding cultural nuances. You may be good at a particular language. I may be good at Tamil and English, but I am not qualified to be a translator unless otherwise. Now I have a good understanding of, perfect understanding of cultural nuances, idioms, and the context also. So it is not simply translating word to word from one language into another language, because it involves cultural mediation. Translators have to navigate their cultural layer, just as multilingual speakers adjust their language use in different cultural context. Okay, just because I know English, I cannot have conversation with English knowing people in other parts of the world, because I know their culture. Very often I share this insight with participants in several conferences and workshops. In 2023, I spent a month in Scotland and England, but it's very, very difficult for me to converse with. I know English. I was English professor, but I could not converse with the people, local people over there, because their cultures is entirely different. No, besides the accent problem, where to crack a joke, how to take it, what is their sense of humor, where do they employ that? So all those things, go into the effective communication in a multilingual context. Same thing with translation also. For example, translating a proverb from, say, French to English requires not just literal translation, but conveying underlying the cultural meaning. So one ought to be good at the cultures that are involved in translation. That's number three. And number four, both cultural multilingualism and very large extent translation, they have their own cognitive and linguistic benefits. If you are a translator, you have to be multilingual. So as a multilingual, you have a lot of cognitive and linguistic benefits. For example, multilingualism enhances meta-linguistic awareness. One of the confirmed research findings of social linguistics is that multilingual brain is multi-competent. If somebody knows many languages, that someone is cognitively superior compared to monolingual person. That way, all Indians are superior to anyone who knows only one language. It is always good for our children to be exposed to different languages, because if children know many languages, they have these huge cognitive and linguistic benefits. You will understand this point when I go to the third slide. So the multilingualism enhances meta-linguistic awareness. meaning ability to think about language itself. When we communicate, when we translate, now we don't think about the language. But then if you are multilingual, you have the ability to think about the language itself. That's why we call metalinguistic, which is very crucial for effective translation. You must think about Tamil, you must think about English, if these are the source and target languages. Multilinguals are also better receiving, recognizing a semantic equivalent. They know that what is near equivalent for a particular word, for a particular concept, because translation is not simply finding equivalent words, but equivalent concepts, lexical gaps, syntactic differences between language. Unless we are meta-linguistically aware of these languages that are involved, we won't be able to involve ourselves as effective translator. Syntactic differences, how sentences operate in Tamil or English or French, so which are all central challenges in translation. And the fifth point, as far as multilingualism and translation or kind of how they are interrelated, is translation promotes multilingualism. Translation promotes multilingualism. So both are mutually. That's why I told you at the beginning that they are mutually, enriching each other. They are interconnected. Translation reinforces multilingualism. So when we do, India is a multilingual country. Multilingualism must be strengthened. How one of the modes is the translation, because translation reinforces multilingualism by exposing speakers, readers to new languages, encouraging cross-cultural competence. Okay, and literary translations, for example, can introduce readers to unfamiliar languages, unfamiliar cultures. When you learn a language, you learn a culture. When you learn when you read a translated text, you're also learning a culture that is translated, indirectly fostering a multilingual mindset. So that's why I say that translation promotes multilingualism. And finally, translation has also a lot of social and political dimensions. Translation is not an academic activity. It is not a mere research activity, but it has got some social dimensions. It has got some political dimensions also. In multilingual societies, for example, translation is not merely linguistic, okay, but also political. It is a political act because a translation mediates a power. It mediates a knowledge. So naturally, the question arises: who has power? Who wields power? Who uses power? Power used against whom? Who are the beneficiaries of power? When you say it mediates knowledge, what knowledge? Western knowledge, Eastern knowledge, indigenous knowledge, knowledge for whom? Okay, so it also mediates access. Translation is involved in providing access also across a different language community. So when you translate a text from Tamil into Malayalam, other speech communities are excluded. When you translate one text from Tamil to, say, Hindi, you are aiming at only Hindi audience, not other linguistic audiences. So in India, by and large, tribal languages are excluded because we are not focusing on, because we are not translating their literature into in large way as we do it in the case of a scheduled language. So that's why I say that translation has got a lot of political dimensions. And policy around translation in multilingual nations, like say European Union or India or Canada, reflect how the language diversity is also managed and negotiated. When you translate a text from one language to another language, why that particular language? That involves a lot of politics. So, for instance, in short, as far as the first slide is concerned, the slide is on the interconnectedness between multilingualism and translation is this. Multilingualism provides a skill and cognitive flexibility required for a translation. So, a translator has to be a practical term, has to be a multilingual, because multilingualism provides skill and cognitive flexibility that is required for translation. While translation is a practical activity, because a translation is a manifestation of multilingualism that embodies and extends multilingualism. So both are mutually reinforcing, they enrich each other, they enrich linguistic, cultural, and cognitive understanding. Now moving on to my second slide, which is making a distinction between multilingualism and plurilingualism, because my topic is I call plurilingual India, because plurilingualism is much more effective than multilingualism in my view. So I want to focus on just 4 points. I think that you see it on the slide. First one is when we talk about, when we use the word multilingualism and plurilingualism, we have to have conceptual clarification. So that is the first point. So you might be wondering what is the difference between multilingualism and plurilingualism. You can guess, because the prefix multi and pluri. So pluri, many, and multi also means many. Then why do we have two different terminologies? Friends, multilingualism refers to coexistence of multiple languages in society, in an environment. It has nothing to do with the individual, unless otherwise somebody chooses to become a multilingual. Multilingualism is a social phenomenon. Many languages exist side by side in a particular environment, in particular society. It emphasizes the presence of several languages without necessarily focusing on individual competence in all of them. For example, India is a multilingual country. What way we say it's a multilingual country? Because there is a presence of many languages like Hindi, English, Tamil, Bengali, Malayalam, Odisha. They all exist side by side in society. It does not mean that all people use all these languages. So multilingualism does not refer to individuals. It refers to, multilingual refers to society. It's a social phenomenon. Okay, people may know some of these languages, but not all of these languages. Okay, many people in Tamil Nadu, they know Tamil, and many people, they know next only to Tamil, they claim to know English. Educated people, because when they go to school, colleges, they learn it one more language. We call it English as an additional language or as a second language. Okay, so otherwise the Tamil people do not know, practically no, they do not know any other language. But we are living in multilingual. We are living in multilingual state. We are living in multilingual India, because when you say multilingualism, it refers to the societal phenomenon. A place, a state, a country, a culture, an environment where many languages are used by different people, but not all people are using all languages. On the other hand, plurilingualism refers to an individual ability to use and navigate multiple languages. In that way, it emphasizes the development of linguistic competence, flexible communication strategies across languages within a single person. So plurilingual India means that in India, Indians are capable of using, they have the ability to use more than one language. That is the understanding of plurilingualism. When you say India is a plurilingual country, majority of the Indians are capable of using more than one language. They are functional bilinguals. At least they know two languages. It's not that India is a country where many languages are used. True, India is a country where many languages are used, but not Indians are using many languages. Okay, only individuals are using different languages, or maybe one or two. But the point is that many languages are spoken in India, or in a particular state, or in Tuticorin, or in Madurai. For example, if you get Madurai is a place they are familiar with. Here you have people speaking Saurashtra. One particular constituency is decided by people speaking that particular language. Then you have another segment called Telugu-speaking people. They may belong to different caste and communities, but they are using Tamil, English, Telugu as their mother tongue. Then you have Hindi-speaking people, and you have a sizable number of people who are speaking Urdu. So, but not all people in Madurai are speaking Saurashtra. Only Saurashtra people, they speak Saurashtra. In addition to that, they will be learning other languages. So plurilingualism refers to individuals' ability. For example, a person can switch between English, French, Spanish, if they know these three languages, depending on the context, and they exhibit their plurilingualism. So this is what I want to know. Multilingualism is a societal phenomenon. Plurilingualism is an individual accomplishment. They take effort and accomplish. Okay. Now we move on to the next point under theme, the connection between multilingualism and plurilingualism. The context. In terms of context, multilingualism is a macro level phenomenon. It's a surface level phenomenon. It describes societies, it describes countries, it describes institutions with multiple languages. For example, European Union is multilingual in the sense that they are using 24 official languages. But doesn't mean that all member countries they know all 24 languages. It is an institution which uses 24 languages, that's all. Okay. Now coming to India. India has identified 22 official languages, 22 scheduled languages, 22 languages that have been included in 8th schedule, so we call scheduled languages. It doesn't mean that all educated Indians in India across the states they're all using 22 languages. It's a societal phenomenon, as I said. It's a macro level phenomenon. On the other hand, pluralism is a micro level phenomenon. It describes how a single person navigates, how a single person mixes, how a single person switches between languages from one to another language. For example, a bilingual teacher teaching in French and English, it's mixing both languages because he knows both languages. And one of the resource person to whom we are going to listen to tomorrow, day after tomorrow, I don't know, Professor Yelango, he is good at both Tamil literature and English literature. So effortlessly, he'll be switching from Tamil literature to English literature and then back and forth because he knows both languages and both cultures, both literatures also. Okay, so that's why he says that the plurilingualism is a micro level phenomenon, differs from language to language. Professor Yelango knows Tamil literature, English literature. Professor Yelango knows Tamil language, English language. John Sear knows Tamil language, but I don't know much Tamil literature. So I refrain myself from using Tamil literature in classes because I know my limitations. Okay, so plurilingualism is a micro level phenomenon, whereas multilingualism is a macro level phenomenon. And number 3, there is an interaction between languages. Okay. Multilingualism means languages may exist side by side but remain largely independent. Telugu, Saurashtra, Tamil, Hindi, Kannada, Urdu, they all exist side by side in the city of Madurai, but by and large they are independent. Okay, so people might borrow words here and there, they will be using their languages, but they are all independent languages, but they are all coexisting. Okay, but there is a lot of interaction. Supposing you are living on a street or in a place in a city where majority of people are using Telugu. In the course of time, you will pick up a few Telugu words and then you will be using in your Tamil discourse. Okay, so there is interaction between languages in a multilingual society, but all languages they remain intact, largely independent. Whereas a plurilingualism means languages are not independent; they are interdependent. That point you must keep it in your mind. In multilingualism, different languages are independent. In plurilingualism, languages are interdependent. In multilingualism, in the multilingual society, languages are independent in society. As far as plurilingual society is concerned, languages are interdependent, not in society, but the individual's mind. The language is there in the mind of the user. The person draws from all known languages to communicate effectively. A plurilingual person does not know when and where they will be employing words and concepts from borrowing from other languages. In 21st century now, there is a method of teaching English called translanguaging. People who are plurilingual, people who know many languages, all those languages accommodated their brain, and when they communicate, when they write, they do not know when and where they'll be using these different languages. Okay, so they'll be mixing all those languages together because all these languages are in a fluid form, not in the traditional canonical classical sense of bilingualism. Plurilingualism is there are no language boundaries in the mind of a plurilingual person. And number 4, I said I give you only 4 points in this slide. Educational perspective. As educators in higher education institutions, we are all basic educators. Whether you are a multilingual person, whether you are a translator, whether you are a consumer of translation or producer of translation, basically we are teachers, we are educators. So multilingual education that NEP 2020 is advocating often addresses the societal need to accommodate many languages. That's why not only NEP 2020, even the first Education Commission of 1949-50 advocated 3-language formula. There are many languages available in society. Many languages exist side by side in Indian society. So why can't Indian children learn minimum of 3 languages? Why can't 3 languages be institutionalized in their curriculum? This is the argument of the scholars for the past 75 years, though we are divided politically, particularly as far as our state is concerned. So plurilingual education emphasizes developing flexible, adaptive language skills in individuals. Some of the old generation of English teachers, they advocate only English language only classrooms or English medium classroom. They will talk only in English. They will not switch over to any other language. The language of students. All students know Tamil in your classroom. Many of them do not know English. You don't know English. You keep on teaching in English. It doesn't reach the audience. If you make use of the language that the audience know, nothing wrong. So we are talking about bilingual education. NEP 2020 is one of the strengths of NEP 2020 is bilingual textbook. India has not experimented, though we say 2-language formula in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu government for the past 75 years has not research, has not spent any of its resources on preparing bilingual text. On left page you have a science textbook, on left page you have Einstein theory in English, on right side you have in Tamil. Students read both versions, they can have cognitive ability improved. Instead of forcing student, I always say that Hindi is not imposed on all of us. English is being imposed on all of us. Students who don't pass English in part 2, they are not qualified for the degree. So English is a language is being imposed on students. High time that we thought about bilingual textbook, then bilingual methods of teaching. So this plurilingual education promotes cross-cultural competence. For example, the Council of Europe promotes plurilingualism as a goal. If I am right, CEFR now says that plurilingual individuals can use their languages for a range of purposes. If you know many languages, I've been traveling outside Tamil Nadu frequently for conferences. I am at the mercy of those people who know. When you go up north, even if you go to Hyderabad, when you go to even Kerala, that people, it's very common that people are using a Hindi. And you are at the, you don't know their local languages. For transaction of the bazaar, you have to depend on someone who knows only English. So if you know other languages, you can have a wider range of purposes, and you can mediate meaning across language. That's one of the statements of the Council of Europe. So friends, to put in simple terms, multilingualism means languages in society, while plurilingualism is languages in the individual. Now let me move on to the third slide, which is a bit heavy. Rani, please move on to the third slide. An overview of social linguistics. Here I want you to, I load your mind with lots of concepts from social linguistics, because some colleges, they have this topic as part of ELT, and many they do not have. So literature curriculum ought to have some space for applied linguistics and social linguistics and so on. So it has got a lot of potentials for translation. So I thought that I could spend a little time over informing the uninformed the nuances of social linguistics, because social linguistics is involved in the act of translation. You can't be a translator, as I told you, simply knowing the language without knowing the society, the societal characteristics, their culture. You can't do translation. Okay, so please lend me ears, be attentive during this particular slide. Number 1, language is a social phenomenon. As far as social linguistics is concerned, language is a social phenomenon. Language does not belong to any individual. Language belongs to society. So no individual can try to pocket it. No individual can claim that they are nurturing. No individual, no groups, no political parties or no association can take the pride and claim that they are nurturing Tamil language because it belongs to society. It's a social phenomenon, even though it lives in the minds and tongues of its users. Okay, so a language becomes dead when all its users are dead. There are many languages in the world which were born, reigned supremacy, and they are dead and gone. Latin is no longer used; it's a dead language. Sanskrit in India is a dead language, even though some people may not agree, because there is no user, there is no society, there is no community to use it for their day-to-day communication. So language lives in the minds and tongues of the user. Where are users of society? So social linguistics is the study of language in relation to society. Language cannot be studied in isolation. It has to be studied only in relation to society, because language is a property of society. Society is the owner of a language. Language cannot be separated from what it does. Okay, there are no languages without social groups. When there is no society, there is no need for language. Language has to be seen always intertwined together. Both language and society, they are inextricably intertwined. That we cannot and we should not study language divorced from society, and society divorced from language. That is one of the reasons why we may say it's a colonial hangover, but still in our curriculum, we try to teach the English language through literary texts, because literary texts also carry a lot of culture. Sometimes becomes a burden to our students. So language and society always know they go together and they cannot be divorced from each other. They always interact with each other to form the main field called social linguistics. So social linguistics means it's a field that focuses on the interaction between language and society. That is point number two. Point number one. Point number two. When we talk about the social linguistics, or when you talk about the translation, we can't afford to overlook what is called communicative competence. Translator ought to have competent. What competence? Communicative competence. Bilinguals or multilinguals or plurilinguals, they have competence in more than one language to qualify themselves as multilinguals or bilinguals or multilinguals or plurilingual. They have competence in what in those languages? No, competence for communication. So we call communicative competence. It's an important area, integral area that is being dealt with in social linguistics. That area, it's a very important notion also. So it includes everything involving the use of language and other communicative dimension. It depends on this communicative competence is dependent upon the tacit knowledge that you cannot articulate openly. Okay, but you have that knowledge, tacit knowledge, and ability to use it. This is what Delheims defined communicative competence in his article 1972. So if you say that you have communicative competence, you have tacit knowledge of that language, and you have the ability to use that language. Tacit knowledge that maybe Tamil teachers, English teachers may talk about their knowledge of Tamil or English, but ordinary users, no, we don't know much about the Tamil. Though we are all Tamil speakers, we are not pandits in Tamil. Pandits by there, but we have tacit knowledge of right, what is wrong, we know that. Okay, so it is an abstraction of social behavior. Language being a property of society, communicative competence is not only individual but also something societal. You cannot communicate in a way that is not acceptable to society, because you learn from your society. Language is already there before you are born. Language is going to be there after we are gone. So language, you cannot try to say that English is Shakespeare, English has improved by Milton. They would have contributed a few words, but English doesn't live thanks to only these characters. No, so it is an abstraction of social behavior. Linguistic competence is largely part of communicative. How to communicate, that language competence, grammatical competence. They're all part and parcel of communicative competence. It includes linguistic knowledge. You can't be an effective communicator. You cannot have competence to communicate in translation unless you have linguistic competence or paralinguistic cues also, like verbal element, non-verbal elements, discourse elements, and range of other possible variants and other their organization. So it is understood. If you have communicative competent. Understood, you got linguistic competent. Number two, you also got interactive skills, norms of transaction, norms of interaction, norms for interpretation, strategies for using desired goals, or understanding appropriateness. Okay, so all those things are also understood to be possessed by the translator or anyone who claims communicative competence in a particular language. Also, cultural knowledge like social structure, values, attitudes, cognitive scheme, the cultural transmission processes, when to say, when to keep quiet, how to argue, something like that. Taking turns during your conversation. All those things, become part and parcel of what is called communicative competence. Number three, very important area which social linguistics deals with and very, very essential for translation activities is variations in language. Because language is not a monolithic entity. When you say Tamil, Tamil is not something monolithic entity. It's not something. It's something abstract. Tamil that I speak, Tamil that I write is not the same as somebody else writes or speaks in another district, in another area. There are a number of variations in language. When translator translate a text, they have to take into the consideration that the text has not written in Tamil. Any text that anybody who speaks Tamil, anybody who speaks English, or anybody who writes in Tamil, a writer, they do so in only one particular variety. They cannot write in abstract language. It's only for convenience we call it a language by name Tamil. But I speak one part of Tamil. As long as I am brought up and I live in Madurai, I cannot, but I speak only Madurai Tamil. Madurai dialect, we call it a dialect, Vatara Valaki. So I think Shakespeare says variety is the spice of life. So language is part of this spiciness. Not all people in a speech community, Tamil is a speech community. Not all people in Tamil speech community speak or write in the same manner. It differs from region to region, area to area, district to district. People easily will say that, are you from South? Are you from Tuticorin? Are you from Kongunadu region? Are you from Tanjore? Are you from Chennai? The way they speak, same the way they write also. Writers also, they write on a particular dialect. So they cannot ignore, the translators cannot ignore. So when you say language variations, dialects, that's what I mean. Language versus a dialects. There are so many dialects that are spoken, that are used, valid. As long as Kanyakumari people speak Kanyakumari dialect, valid in their district, no doubt about it. Okay, so the novel Tupukari, I couldn't understand because it is written in typical Kanyakumari dialect, and one of my old students, Dr. Hamlin, has translated into English. When she translated, she has to take into account, not English, take into account the Kanyakumari dialect, and she must try her level best to render them into an English which does not know Kanyakumari dialect, does not know Tamil itself. But translation is not from one language to another language. Translation involves conversion of the text from one dialect into another language. That's a huge challenge. Okay, so there are many dialects based on so many social factors like caste dialect, for example. Regional dialect in a particular region. All Tuticorin people, irrespective of community, they will be using Tirunelveli or composite Tirunelveli district. By and large, they use the same dialect. All communities now. But within community, caste also plays a role. They have different. This evening, this afternoon, I was chatting with one of my old students. He was telling my Apata, it's the second anniversary. I said, who is Apata? Then what he means is a party. Then he said, we never use the word party. Then she said, Amachi. Amachi is different from Apata. Then one of my neighbors, he doesn't call his party as a party. He says, Aya. Amma's mother is Aya. Appa's mother is Apata. And they don't use the word Tata at all. In standard Tamil textbook, at all levels in Tamil Nadu, we use a standard dialect or standard Tamil like Tata party. But here they don't use the word Tata. Now this guy said Ayya. Tata, they don't say that community. Ayya, the person whom I was chatting this afternoon, then invariably he exhibited his community, though he was my student 5 years. I thought he belonged to one particular community in the south, but he said it's different because he said in my community we are using. Then Tata's Appa, Party's Appa. Then he said Puti and Putan, something like that. So these are the terms. No, when you translate in English, you simply say grandpa and grandma, but you are missing the essence of the social caste, that flavor, no, that you convey through your dialect. In some communities they call achi, not all communities, no. So when you go from one community to another community within the same very endearing terms, you go to Ramnad, that area, they don't say Vanga Thambi, they say Appu, Appu Nalla Irukingla. Appu is a term that is used in a very endearing way. So there are different, or the common term that is used now is a socialite, social dialect, or socialect. Okay, and Brahmins, they have different types of law, and each individual also has got their own way of communicating. I don't see Rani. Rani is in another room. Supposing I know, but she is talking from my room. I can guess that must be Rani, because that is how Rani speaks. So we call it idiolect. The individual idiosyncratic way of using particular language called idiolect. Okay, regional dialect, social like. And when you come to discipline, knowledge, you say register. You call it register. For example, you take a doctor. The kind of language doctor uses to talk to a nurse is something different from the same doctor when he uses the same language when he addresses the patient. The same doctor comes home, talks to his spouse or the children, it's a different Tamil. So in profession, you have different way of using that language. It differs from discipline to discipline. Legal register, scientific register, literary register, journalist register, and so on. And then you have what you call diglossia. Di means two. Diglossia. Same language is used for different purposes. As I told you, Tata Party, high variety. That is fixed, that is codified, that is given in dictionary, that is given in textbook, that is encouraged by the educational institution. It's called high variety. We call Sendamil. Then you have low variety. The low variety is daily use. For example, Angal, Pengal. Do we use it in our daily life? Maybe when you travel on city buses or buses, you say Angal, Pengal, gents, women only, something like that. Whereas in Tamil, in low variety, diglossia, low variety, amblinga, pomblinga, we don't use the high variety terms. It's called diglossia, which means different dialects within a language exist side by side, as much as different languages which exist side by side for different purposes. Okay, that is number 3. Number 4, language in contact. Indian languages and English are not biologically related. There is no biology behind the English and Indian languages. They are not children of the same parent. In biological systems, they are contact languages for political and geographical reasons. Some trade reasons. English came in contact with the Indian languages. We call contact languages. So languages in contact. What I mean that in biological systems, when two mutually infertile systems come into contact, a system that is totally different is born. In such cases, a divergent and evolutionary change takes place. Okay. In the case of language systems, on the other hand, I would say there are changes leading to convergence, then leading to divergence also. When two languages are in contact with each other, we call that process as bilingualism. Tamil and English, they coexist in India, in Tamil Nadu, creating a new linguistic phenomenon called bilingualism. At the language level, at the cultural level, we have biculturalism or acculturation. So in all our literature classes, we are making our students not only bilingual, but also bicultural. Because language, culture comes automatically as a part of the package. Okay. If there are more, we can refer to multilingualism and multiculturalism. Okay. At the same time, friends, we should remember that language is an integral part of enculturation. First, language is part of culture and they cannot be separated, I told you. Number 2, language is a medium through which users explore and manipulate socio-cultural environment. So it is a part of enculturation. Okay. So language context. And number 5, bilingualism and multilingualism. I'm using another new term. We have so far used multilingualism and plurilingualism. Now I'm going to use another term called bilingualism. The prefix bi and tells you that you can guess that two. So it refers to what is bilingualism. Bilingualism refers to the learning of two languages. Number 2, proficiency in two languages. Number 3, or using two or more languages. So bilingualism has got 3 shades of meaning: learning of two languages, or having proficiency in two languages, or using two languages. As I told you, it is an individual accomplishment. So bilingualism is closely related to plurilingualism. You can call a bilingual or a plurilingual. When you call somebody a bilingual, you understand he knows, she uses two languages. When you call somebody plurilingual, we don't know whether how many languages that person uses. So we say plurilingual. Okay. And when you say bilingualism, it not only characterizes individual accomplishment, may characterize the whole group also. For example, Tamil society is a bilingual society because Tamil Nadu government's policy is such. Whereas multilingualism, I told you that it is a presence of many languages. So these are the 3 dimensions in my definition of bilingualism. I refer to 3. Number 1, learning. Number 2, having proficiency in. Number 3, using. So based on that, I have given you in my slide. Number 1, the 3 dimension. Number 1, learning. L2, learning second language means, bilingualism means learning second language. All our students in our classes, or whether part English class or general your major classes, our students are bilinguals in the sense that they are learning English. Okay. Number 2, some of them are now claim, which means they are becoming bilinguals. They want to become bilinguals. Number 2, some students in your classes may be already having proficiency in L2. What is L2? Second language. What is L2 now in our context? English. So some of the students would have acquired good knowledge of English in their schools. So in our classes, some of the students are having proficiency in English in addition to their mother tongue. So they have proficiency. They are also bilinguals. And number 3, tiny minority in your class, they will be already functioning as bilinguals. There is a difference between having proficiency and functioning. Having proficiency means knowing. Knowing a language is different from using it. I may say I know Hindi, but I won't be able to write. Many people in Kanyakumari district know, they say they know Malayalam, but many of them, they do not know how to read and write, but they know how to speak and listen to. But they are also bilinguals. But they belong to the second category. They have proficiency in Tamil, Malayalam, and English. Some of them may be reading and writing also. They are functioning as bilinguals. So these are the 3 categories. Basically, when you have a bilingual audience, vast majority of them want to become bilingual, that are a student. They are in the process of learning a second language. So some Indian children start learning English along with L1. But many learn English when they are sent to school. And L2 is learned for a variety of reasons also. Number 2, being bilingual. Here you have to focus a little more on being bilingual. When somebody says, I'm a bilingual, when your students say that they are bilinguals, or when you say you are bilingual, including me, you belong to one of these categories. Rani, next slide, please. Ma. There are, among the bilingual, there are many categories. You decide which category do your students belong, which category I belong or you belong. Okay. Number 1, subordinate bilingual. Students know, some of them will be, or many of them will be subordinate bilinguals. They say they claim they know English, but they are subordinate bilingual, meaning they translate an item in L1 to an equivalent to L2. They think in Tamil, then they try to find equivalent in English. That's why they'll take a lot of time when you ask them to write or speak. Many bilingual, though they claim that they know English, they are taking a lot of time to translate. They translate from L1 to L2. Such bilinguals are subordinate bilinguals. Number 2 is coordinate bilinguals. Coordinate bilinguals are those who begin to think in L2. They operate with the two different semantic bases, but they are not translating from L1 to L2. They know L1, they know L2, so straight away they start to think in L2. Those are coordinate bilinguals. They are better than subordinate bilinguals. Number 3, compound bilingual. This is ideal group. They operate with a fused single semantic base. They cannot express when and where they think in Tamil and English. Alternatively, they'll be using both the languages. So finally, if someone is a plurilingual or bilingual, they must aim at becoming compound bilinguals. There are some bilinguals, number 4, they are called dominant bilingual, which means if I know Tamil and Hindi, Tamil and English, I know if you say that I am better at Tamil than English, I'm not so good at English as much as Tamil, then I am dominant in one language. So it's called dominant bilinguals. Whereas if I am good at both the languages, I am equally good at Tamil and English, then they are called balanced bilinguals. Next one is complementary bilinguals. Complementary bilinguals know their communication abilities in one language complement those of the other. Supposing I know Tamil and English. When I am talking in Tamil, I am not able to communicate effectively, so I need English. When I am talking in English, I need the help of Tamil to complete the process of my communication. That's called complement. They complement each other. Both the languages complement each other. And next type of bilingual is receptive bilinguals. Receptive bilinguals, they could comprehend two languages, but they speak or write only one. I told somebody say that most people in most Saurashtra speaking in Tamil, in Tamil Nadu, in Madurai particularly, they all speak, but they cannot write. So they are receptive bilinguals. No, they receive, but they cannot produce. Okay. Then you have what is called simultaneous bilinguals. Simultaneous bilinguals are those who acquire two languages simultaneously below 3 years. So lucky are the ones. So some people, because of socio-economic background, they start learning English from their parents, at home, even before they reach the age of 3. So along with the Tamil, they also learn English. So they are simultaneous bilingual. Opposite of simultaneous bilingual or successive bilingual, because they acquire L2, they start learning L2 only after having learned L1. Okay, so I think most of us, we learned English only after having learned Tamil. So we are all successive bilinguals. Then you have what is called subtractive bilinguals. The last two are something, last but one is something dangerous, because this is also part of societal attitudes. When you start learning a new language, you are developing a kind of negative attitude towards your language. When I start learning English, somehow you begin to think English superior to Tamil. Tamil is a backward language. It is not so good as English. Something like that. Some people develop kind of negative attitude, their own language and culture. Such bilinguals are known as subtractive bilinguals. And opposite of subtractive bilinguals is called additive bilinguals. Additive bilinguals, they don't create negative attitude. They add one more language to their linguistic repertoire. So these are all different types of bilinguals, and you have to recognize different types of bilinguals in our classroom context. Okay, and sometimes translators also will belong to one of these categories. So naturally, the quality of their product will also depend upon what kind of bilinguals are they. Okay, so ideally speaking, they should be additive bilinguals. Ideally speaking, they must be a compound bilinguals, or else their translation work will suffer in terms of quality. And the third one, as I told you, functioning bilinguals. No one learns a language without a purpose. So LT may be used for different areas. In Indian context, L2, we can use it in family, neighborhood, education, trade and commerce, government, administration, workplace, religion, exams. There are so many places where you are using a language. Next slide, please, Rani. Now I move on to the sixth point about social linguistics, code mixing and code switching, which are inevitable in a bilingual society, a multilingual society, or in a plurilingual society. So you can call it India is a multilingual society, or plurilingual society, or bilingual society. Anyhow, India is a place where not one language is used. Languages are all influenced by each other. when two friends are when two are close friends, they influence each other. When two languages live side by side, in the case of English with other Indian languages, for nearly 450 years, both English and Indian languages they influence each other. This is quite inevitable. And Indians, they are not monolingual. Indian they have many languages. They know many languages. I know two languages. I know three languages. Someone say I know four languages. And all these people know their languages live in the mind, and therefore these languages influence the entire personality from top to bottom. They are made of different languages. So they use languages simultaneously. They are when I am talking in Tamil, when I am writing, it's quite natural that I feel like mixing a few words from other language. So if you mix words when you are having one language when you are having communication in one language, it's called code mixing. Okay, Anitya Desai is the first Indian writer, if I am right. He is the one who started code mixing, but then apologetically she used to give footnoting for the Hindi word. This is the meaning, because she was not writing for Indians alone, she was writing the global audience. So those people cannot read, learn Hindi and not to read a novel. And subsequently now in 21st century, you got young adult fiction, these young writers like Chetan Bhagat, they're using hundreds of Hindi words, hundreds of their local languages in their fiction, and they are not apologetic anymore. Now, if you want to understand, you have to learn those, you have to use Google and find out the meaning. So code mixing, we are using generously, we are mixing lots and lots of words in our communication. And we are also switching, code switching, moving from at sentence level from one language to another language. They're all quite common. But somehow the people who are self-styled Tamil Arvalargal, they say that you should, when you speak Tamil, you should not mix. There are some political television channels where they are not allowing mixing and code switching only in Tamil, because it's you're not supposed to be. It is not possible, because we are not living in a monolingual society. We are living in. And the next point is that language maintenance and language loyalty. So when you are a translator, when you are a multilingual, when you are a bilingual, when you are a plurilingual, this problem also arises because of this problem is addressed in social linguistics. Language maintenance and language loyalty. In a bilingual, multilingual situation, one language is used by the dominant group, while other languages are relatively reduced in important currency. In a Madurai and Tamil Nadu, dominant language is Tamil. Though it has got several other languages, so we call it the multilingual Tamil Nadu. Dominant language is Tamil. All other languages are reduced in important currency because they are not taught in school. They are not provisionally used by everyone. So they become minority languages. The minority language sometimes becomes an official language also. If you go to Singapore, Malaysia, Tamil is one of the official languages, but a minority official language. So continue to be maintained and developed. That is why Tamil speaking diaspora Tamil in Singapore or Malaysia, or even within India, Maharashtra, Mumbai or Delhi, they are inviting Tamil speakers, Tamil literary scholars, writers to their places, and they are having Tamil festival for a week or so, because the language has to be maintained. Because in Delhi, minority Tamil is a minority language. In Mumbai, Tamil is a minority language. And in Singapore and Malaysia, official language is but minority language. And therefore, they have to maintain their language, because they have to see that language loyalty is also is involved there. Retention of a language by its speakers, otherwise they'll switch over to the dominant language. So language loyalty, language maintenance can also be seen part of an attempt by minority speakers to maintain their general ethno-cultural identity. All said and done, language is a marker. It is our cultural marker. Then moving on to the next one, language and culture. I got a lot of things to share, but then over want of time, it's already 8:15. Language, as I told you, I don't want to focus more on that. Because they are interdependent. I told you cannot separate them, language and society, language and culture. Descartes, I remember Descartes said, thanks to language, man became man. What he means is that language is a culture preserving and culture transmitting phenomenon. Because of language, culture is preserved. There are many modes of preserving culture, like music or dance, or so many things. But the most common most dynamic form of preserving and transmitting our culture is the language. Okay, so language and culture is but again you have belief or what is called ethnocentricity, belief in superiority one's own ethnic group. This is another is a great danger particularly in a social like Tamil Nadu or Canada, Canadian society. Just because the Kamala Hassan made a statement, to create a lot of problems in Canada, Bangalore, and so on. You would have heard about it. Because each society, each linguistic society is nurturing a particular stereotypical image about their language, their culture. They are, because language is used to create myth also. So every language has the process of myth creation through language. Telugu speakers always believe that Telugu is the Italian of South. So naturally, it will be over. No. Sanskrit speaking people, what they said that Sanskrit is a Deva Bhasha. It is the language in which gods even have their own discourses. So we have to, for Tamil speakers had to be, they were forced to create a new image, that Tamil Annai. It's all metaphor in order to create this loyalty, okay? So, and something like that. So social linguistics study how languages and cultures differ from one another, and if there are any universals in thought and culture and so on. And last but one point, language and social inequality. That's also important point. Society languages also create a lot of inequality in society. And Nehru was against continuance of English initially because India was already written with lots of divisions. And if you are going to have, if you're going to read in English, then English knowing Indians and Indians who do not know English, one more division will be created. And now I think that several state governments like Tamil Nadu are creating spending a lot of money on educating, empowering students with in corporation schools, knowledge of English, because they create a lot of inequality. Of course, all languages are equal, no doubt about it. All languages are equal, but at the same time, whether languages are unequal. All languages are equal in the sense that human language has a built-in potential for expressing constant feeling. There was a time colonial idea, Tamil is a barbarous language, Tamil is a backward language, Tamil cannot express all those philosophical, literary experiences, only English alone. They used to have that kind of idea. But it's not like that. All languages are equal because as and when there is a need, languages develop the capacity to fulfill the functions expected in society. So the basic distinction is between what languages can do and what they are doing. You respect a language, you learn a language for what it is doing and not what it was. You can't say that Tamil is the oldest language in the world and therefore everyone should learn Tamil. People will ask that when I learn Tamil, what it can do for me, at least what it can do, or if not, what it is doing. So in terms of what they are doing, languages have got different functions, and it is creating a lot of social inequality. Particularly now we have that feeling. That's the reason why we are opposed to that particular recommendation, three-language formula, three-language policy in Tamil Nadu, because the government level, though common language is cement of unity of a nation, we must always try to find the unity in this diversity. Unity should not be mistaken for uniformity. Very often, policymakers fail to understand this. If you recognize the complementary roles of languages, the problem of competition, confrontation can be converted into responsive cooperation. The last point about this slide is all said and done, you talk about this is probably not the relationship between languages. What do you call now? Linguistic relativity, theory of linguistic relativity, like physics term, or universality. So there are two theories emerging. There is a popular expression called Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. That is, this hypothesis by two great American linguists, one called Edward Sapir, the other one is Benjamin Franklin Whorf. They call Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. It relates thought and context. The question is, language shapes worldview. Oh, Tamil people, you will have only this world because you are conditioned by your language. This is what this hypothesis says that. Now, the way you look at the world is different from the way Telugu speakers look at the world. Their worldview is Chinese have different worldview because language that basically conditions your outlook on the world. This is a hypothesis, highly controversial hypothesis. Language shapes one's worldview. People, we use language to put labels on all observable phenomena, and they are conditioned to see only those object ideas that can be expressed in language. If something cannot be expressed in my language, I cannot understand that something. That something comes to me only through my language. Anything that my language cannot express is alien to me. So that is what this. For example, the greetings of different cultures viewed in original meanings indicate different concerns. For example, the Arabic salam. Salam means peace. In English, the English hello. Hello originated healthy be thou. That's the meaning. Healthy be thou. So that is the idea. When he addresses a hello, you wish him to be healthy. Okay. So all greetings express a basic concern for the other person's well-being, though some of them are spiritual and some of them are physical. Some people, some Christians, when they meet others, they say, "Praise the Lord." This is the spirituality is involved, not the physical in content. Okay. So, on the other hand, there are people who believe in universalism. Universalism propose that all languages share some common features. Okay, so they reject this assumption that languages differ in innumerable, unpredictable ways. All languages are different. It is not like that. There are differences on the surface level. At the deeper level, you have a lot of similarity. This particular theory coming from the famous Noam Chomsky, who talks about a metaphor called language acquisition device, LAD. All children, when they are born, have something inherent, have something inborn, something innate, something genetically programmed capacity for learning any human language in a society in which they are born. Now, quickly move to the last slide, social linguistic perspective. Just five, I'll quickly, within 5 minutes, I'll complete it. India is one of the, as I told you, linguistically diverse countries in the world. Other countries cannot understand our language because it is a country with 22 officially recognized languages in the 8th schedule of our constitution and 122 major languages in addition to 1599, close to 1,600 other languages. This is what Census of India 2011 mentions. I repeat, 22 officially recognized languages. We are lucky. Tamil is one of the 22, including the 8th schedule. Only when his constitution was written, 15 languages, now 22, 122 major languages, and 1,599 other languages. So plurilingualism here, as I told you, means the individual ability. Each individual, each Indian has got some capacity to use one or two or three, but forget for a time Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is the poorest example. When you move out of Tamil Nadu, you will understand these things better. A student in Bangalore may speak Kannada at home, English at school, Hindi in public spaces, Tamil with a friend. 15 years ago, I went to Mysuru for a wedding. I saw a small kid using about 5 languages. And he said he was learning 6th language in Spanish. So children should be exposed to as many languages as possible without having this political connection. Okay. And as far as social linguistic dimensions are concerned, language in India is not merely a communication tool, a marker of identity. It is not in monolingual countries. For us, language is not only a tool for communication, but also a marker of who am I. That who am I comes from only Tamil, not from English. I may speak many languages, but my inherent identity comes from my language. That my language always influences all other language that I learn. So Tamils or Indians speak English in a particular way. We cannot and should not speak English as spoken by Americans because Americans do not know those other languages. We India, we live in a plurilingual situation. No? Our language always influences other languages that we learn. So plurilingual speakers often adapt their linguistic repertoire to signal regional, religious, the social identity. A Delhi guy may switch between Hindi and Punjabi to not indicate his cultural belonging and solidarity. Okay, so different languages in India often serve different specific social functions. As I told you, English is used in education, administration, and global communication. That's why we want to learn English, not out of love for utilitarian purpose. If I learn English, no, it's doing something good for me. While Hindi is for interstate communication. If Tamil people know Hindi, when they go outside Tamil Nadu, definitely Hindi helps them to have their social interaction, no doubt about it. And if they know those regional languages, good. And Tamil is always preferred at home, local identity, literature, no doubt about it. So English enjoys the kind of prestige and economic advantage because it also creates some social stratification among speakers. That is something that you cannot avoid. So what are the implications of this social linguistic perspectives of India being a plurilingual? Traditional multilingual approaches often treat languages separately, whereas Plurilingual pedagogy. As I told you, we must start with bilingual textbook, bilingual pedagogy, bilingual methods of teaching. Okay, bilingual testing also. Ultimately, everything must be manifested in testing. Students must be allowed to express their knowledge in both the languages which are used in their learning process, in integrated learning way. Okay, so now NEP 2020 promotes mother tongue instruction in early education. It's a good, very good point of the policy while encouraging plurilingual competence for national and global communication. Now, last but one is the cognitive and social advantages are plenty in a plurilingual India because they can develop problem solving. When you learn more languages, you become better problem solver. You create more meta-linguistic awareness. You create, as I told you, cognitive flexibility, adaptability. So there are plenty of now. These are all research findings. As I told you, multilingual brain is multi-competent brain. Multilingual individual is multi-competent in Indian. That we must promote multilingualism. We must promote in educational system I'm talking about. It is not enough if languages exist in society. This presence of many languages should also be reflected in our textbook. And this plurilingualism, ability to use many languages, should also be encouraged within the educational curriculum. But at the same time, there are some challenges now because when you are talking about English or dominant, maybe regional languages may be underused, risking erosion of linguistic heritage. Not all individuals have equal access to dominant language like English. What Bourdieu calls it, a linguistic capital gap will happen. Balancing national cohesion with linguistic diversity is a really challenge. But this challenge cannot be faced by politicians. Only we people, language people, teachers, we must do that. So, friends, coming to the end now, the social linguistic perspectives of plurilingual India reveal a dynamic interplay between language, society, identity, and power. All those things are studied under what we call social linguistics. So pluralism is both a cognitive skill and a social strategy. Okay, so we develop our cognitive abilities, at the same time we use it as social strategy in a multilingual country like India. It can enable individuals to navigate India's complex linguistic landscape effectively. Whenever I visited North like Jaipur or places in Madhya Pradesh, and now I find it difficult to communicate outside the conferences because I don't know. I feel I'm a foreign, I'm alien in those places. If I know the language of the street, I can easily. So nothing wrong in learning one more language as Hindi is. And also that India is a country with only with minority languages. India is a country of no language is a majority language. No language is spoken by more than 50% of people. Hindi seems to be the majority of the minority languages. That's the only thing that is spoken by more number of people than other like all our regional languages. No language is spoken throughout India. But then, if at all there is the language which is spoken in all places in India, that is the Hindi. That we have to acknowledge that particular fact, and therefore it emphasizes the flexibility, creativity, and mediation. I told you cultural mediation, and positioned India as a natural laboratory for studying the advantages and challenges of plurilingual competence. Thank you very much for your patient listening, friends. Now, maybe Q&A, I over to organizer, particular Rani Pradesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your rich and highly informative lecture. We now open the floor for Q&A session. Dear participants, drop in your questions or raise your hand to interact directly. Dear participants, type in your questions in the chat box or raise your hand to interact directly.
I think Mr. Gopinath has been raising his hand for so long.
Yes, Gopinath, I am ready. Maybe you would have asked for feedback link or something like that. I don't know. Usually it happens on online workshops or conferences. When Raja Rajeswari has mentioned that the post-colonial scenario where language competence means knowledge and power, that is true. It doesn't mean language and power. It leads to knowledge and power. If that language competent means language and power, then it's a colonial view. Knowledge of language, always competence in any language, that can lead to knowledge and power. If you do not competent, we'll be missing the best. That's all.
Nagalakshmi ma'am has posted a question, sir.
How do machines assimilate layers of bilingualism or multilingualism translation as we adopted technology for a translation? As I told you that out of 6 speakers, 4 speakers are focusing on translation. Therefore, I avoided that particular thing, translation. I focused on multilingualism. And machines cannot do anything unless otherwise. How we are machines are controlled by machines function translation. They function according to the algorithms that have been already written. So who has written algorithm, and the algorithm bias is there. So we can't find fault and glorify machine translation. If you do so, we are doing only for those people who have created algorithm. So in a recent conference, in Western College, made a distinction between AI and, because we're talking AI, nobody talks about NI. NI is natural intelligence. It's taken for granted. I said that AI is generative, whereas NI is creative. We human being alone can create, whereas AI machines can generate according to the processes that have been already fixed.
Sir, excuse me. So taking English classes in a bilingual mode, for certain things, for explanation, it will be okay. But don't you think it will dilute the process of literature, English literature, knowing the beauty and essence of literature, English literature?
Ma'am, it's a good evening. It's a good question, and I'm not surprised to see this question from you, because you belong to one of the two schools. I refer to now English only medium, English only method of teaching English. That's one particular method. But when you are making a reference to English literature class, am I right?
Yes, sir.
Not teaching English to general English classes. In literature classes, the precondition that no one who doesn't know anyone who doesn't know English is not qualified to sit in literature classroom. Not admit, but we do it. We do it
Yes.
in our scenario. But it is not possible for such people to learn any meaningful literature from us, from either Dr. Sudha or from John Sager, not from the literary text, because they have no knowledge of the language in which literature has been written. And those experiences cannot be translated into local languages for the sake of those who are deficient in TL, that a target language. That's why, from 1970 onwards, we started this process of conducting bridge courses in English for those new entrants, for all students who are admitted. And once they are qualified, now they are made to qualify. Once they are made to feel competent to deal with on their own, then they are allowed to continue their studies. But now I think some colleges now they have streaming also. Many colleges introduced, and they have discontinued it for functional, because that also created one more division among students. If you are going to say that you belong to list C, you belong to A, that also created some problems. So as far as literature students concerned, I think that we should ensure that first 1 month or 2 months we should not spend our time on teaching them literature. We have to equip them with the necessary the English knowledge, so that they can deal with the literary text, by not prescribing canonical texts, canonical courses in the first semester. Shakespeare can wait, Dryden can wait. Perhaps you can introduce 21st century, 20th century English that they are using, English that we are using. Not Shakespeare English is dead and gone. That English nobody uses now. So you can introduce literature written in contemporary English to these students in the very first term, so that they feel confident enough to, instead of dismissing, driving them away from literature classes, we can make them feel confident that they can continue with their literature courses. So when I said bilingual approach, I mean all other classrooms, but not literature classrooms.
But if it is like that, sir, they will stop using the English language, they will switch on to their own mother tongue through which it is being translated.
That is one of the reasons why people are
Drawback.
English only policy, because they only place where they get some exposure to English classroom. Where students are encouraged to use the Tamil or local languages, then they don't get a chance to use language at all outside the classroom, outside the college. So they are exposed to the use of English will be minimized. That is a legitimate fear, no doubt about it. Now I think you are asking me about the general English, generally in classes, not literature class, I believe. Am I right?
Not literature, the other classes, whether it is economics or other commerce or any other majors.
That's why I said that this bilingual textbook, bilingual education must be introduced from grade 1, not at the college level. From grade 1, if they have basic knowledge of economics, they would have effortlessly learned in bilingual textbook. They would have been tested like that when they complete their +2. When they come to colleges, it will not be a problem at all. They may not require bilingual approach at all. So the lower standards, bilingual textbook, bilingual teaching, bilingual learning, and bilingual testing, if that takes place, there is no need for bilingual approach when they come to tertiary level.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
That's what I meant. Even NEP 2020 advocates in bilingual approach only at the school level, not at the college level.
Sir, one more question from Daphne Orange Mary. How to differentiate metrolingualism from multilingualism, sir? Do we have metrolingual practice in India?
How do we differentiate metrolingualism from multilingualism? I already told you that when you say metrolingualism, you confine yourself to metros. This multilingualism is a societal phenomenon, whereas metrolingualism is confined to one parts of your society, one of a few parts of the location. So metrolingualism got over to Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, and something like that. You can't talk about Madurai and Tuticorin. So metrolingualism is a subset of multilingualism. Daphne, are you satisfied? She is my PhD scholar.
Yes, sir. Actually, currently I'm teaching a course called Varieties of English, and it is metrolingualism and translingualism is prescribed for us in Unit 5. So I just asked this question for my clarification, sir.
I understand.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, when multilingualism is about social phenomena, there is a word. Yes, sir, from Coimbatore, sir.
Please go ahead.
When multilingualism is about social phenomena, there's a word called multilinguist, which refers to a person who speaks multiple languages. So, which is more apt way to say, for example, P.V. Narasimha Rao is a multilinguist or plurilinguist?
Neither a multilinguist nor a plurilinguist. Not everybody thinks the older term is a polyglot. One who uses many languages. That person used to call a polyglot, and this book is written called Outsider. His autobiography, Narasimha Rao. There he describes himself as a polyglot, one who is capable of using many languages. It's all different terms mean the same. You can call him a plurilingual. Don't call plurilinguist, multilinguist. If you say linguist, that's very technical and a person who has got expertise in the study of plurilingualism. But one who has the ability to use many languages, plurilingual. I am plurilingual. I am multilingual. I am bilingual. That is the users. But if you want to use a linguist, plurilinguist, then you are talking about somebody who has got expert knowledge about that particular branch of language study. So see, Narasimha Rao is not a linguist. He's not a linguist, so no question of whether he's a plurilinguist or multilinguist.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
The thing is that the people who are introduced to linguistics, they'll understand. If you got little knowledge of linguistics, a linguist need not know many languages at all. I mean, a linguist, he is talking about many languages, but he knows only one language. She knows only one language. So it is not a prerequisite for a linguist to know many languages. David Crystal knows only English. Noam Chomsky knows only English. But they talk about several languages because they are strong in methodology. This American in World Tamil conferences, his name starting with the H. He does not know anything how to communicate in Tamil, but he has written a number of articles on Tamil literature, Tamil language also. So knowing is something different from talking about other languages.
Thanks for your clarification, sir.
Can we wind up the session?
Yes, thank you, sir.
As pulse rate goes down, the number of participants over from 90 has gone down.
Thank you, sir, for addressing the question session insightfully. To conclude this session, I call upon Dr. S. Ananda Vaishnavi to propose the vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. On the second day of this online faculty development program hosted by PG and Research Department of English, VOC College, I thank God Almighty for showering His blessings upon this enlightening evening. We thank the benevolent management and our respected principals, sir, for encouraging such academic feats. I thank our head, Dr. P.D. Sylvia, for her support throughout the session, and FDP as such. A warm, heartfelt thanks to our resource person for the day, Dr. Jairaj John Shaker, sir, for a session filled with knowledge, new insights on multilingualism, bilingualism. Sir, your session has been truly inspiring and widened the knowledge because we were able to understand the nuances of so many layers of bilingualism and multilingualism, and of course, socio-linguistic perspectives as well. A heartfelt thanks to all the enthusiastic and interactive participants. As Sir pointed out, till he finished his session, it was like 90 plus odd. As soon as it was, after the question and answer session, the pulse went down. A special thanks to our Dr. Gomadi Nagam, sir, Assistant Professor of Computer Science Department, for his technical support throughout. I thank one and all for your active participation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And with that, we come to the close of today's session. Thank you all for your active participation and enthusiastic presence. We look forward
Thank you
to
so much,
meeting
sir.
you.
So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So thank you very much.
Have a pleasant evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Benedicta.
Bye. Bye.
Good night. Good night
Bye,
to you all.
good night.
Good job, sir.